Welcome to Footprints of the Creator. Your host this evening is Yusuf. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Tonight we will discuss some aspects of geology in the Quran. In Surah 41 verses 9 to 12 we are told, "Say, do you disbelieve him who created the earth in two periods? Do you ascribe equals to him? He is the Lord of the worlds. He set in the earth mountains standing firm. He blessed it. He measured therein its sustenance in 4 periods, in due proportion, in accordance with the needs of those who ask for sustenance. Moreover, he turned to heaven when it was smoke and said to it and the earth, Come willingly or unwillingly. They said, We come in willing obedience." And again in Surah 21 verse 30, we quoted this previously, "Do not the unbelievers see the heavens and the earth were joined together? Then we clove them asunder, and we got every living thing out of water. Will they not then believe?" Now from these two ayahs we find that what is referred to is the creation of the earth and the heavens in two periods or two stages. And we discussed in detail in the second program how the heavens and the earth were created from a point of infinite density of pure energy. And we discussed how the transformation of energy into matter came about and how this is, of course, compatible with science tells us today. We described that these two periods were in which the heavens and the earth were done together, because we are told in the second verse that the heavens and the earth were once joined and we clove them asunder, and we explained how this had occurred and that this is absolutely consistent with scientific details. So when we consider the creation of the earth, we find that first of all the first 2 periods refer to the creation of the earth from a point of non-existence, which was a point of pure energy. And we find that this process occurs very much as we had described, where we find initially there's a mass of gas which has arisen from the conversion of energy into matter, from atoms to molecules, and then to the stage of gas. Subsequent to the stage of gas, we find that gravitational forces become important, and these cause aggregation of areas of matter, which gave rise to the primordial masses which stretched for billions of light years. And we noted that our present solar system was one big such mass, and that the earth was formed from a separation of a mass from the primordial solar mass. And with the result of this separation, we got the formation of the various planets, including the earth. Now, taking the earth itself, we find what happens is, as a result of the gravitational forces, we get the accumulation of the gases, and they come together under the force of gravity. And as they come closer together, we get the generation of vast amounts of energy, and this is responsible for the various nuclei coming together, and this causes, by the effect of this energy, for the production of the various different atoms that we know of. We find that there is a phase change from gas to liquid, and in some areas from liquid to solid. And we get the development of the earth. We know that the crust itself formed a solid mass. Now we find that as we get the attraction of the various matter coming closer together, the heavy metals like iron and nickel, they began to settle towards the center of the earth, and those which are a bit lighter like silicon and aluminium settled in the middle layer. Then there are the other elements which are the lightest, such as hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen and carbon. They occupied the outermost layer. Now as we get some areas liquefying and some areas solidifying, we find that the interior of the earth is becoming hotter and hotter. As a result of this heat, we get vast quantities of water vapor and gas that is forced out from the center of the earth. And these cause the earth to wreck with enormous quakes, with the escape of enormous amounts of energy. And we get volcanic eruptions, and the water vapor is forced out of the center of the earth. With these volcanic eruptions, we get the formation of the initial mountain ranges. And as the surface of the earth solidified, we get the formation of the crust. And at this stage, the crust was very hot, and so was the inner aspects of the earth. Now, this water that was forced out from the earth started to ascend into the atmosphere. And so we find that the whole earth was covered with water. And it reminds me of the Quranic ayah where Allah says, and his throne was over the waters. It may refer to such a phenomena. As time moved on, we get the cooling of the earth's surface itself. And we find that the surface of the earth, the crust, solidified. And the regions below the earth remained hot, some in a state of liquid molten state and others in a state of solid. Now, as the surface of the earth cooled down, the rain that fell down, the rains began to come down. Initially, when the water touched the earth's surface, because of the heat, it would evaporate again. But once the earth had cooled, as the water descended in the form of rain, it settled onto the soil. And we had rains for hundreds of years. So we find this rain gave rise to the various oceans. And so we note that the oceans were actually formed from above, strangely enough. Now, as I mentioned, because of the cooling, the crust became very solid, and because of the various forces and the volcanic eruptions, the crust of the earth was very irregular, and these formed the first mountain range. Now, if you look at the Quranic ayah, it is interesting to note that the Quran refers to the two stages of the creation of the earth and then to four stages in which Allah provided sustenance. Now, the first two stages refer to the creation of the earth before life began. And it is, according to science, there is no two specific stages that we can divide into. However, science does talk of the first stage, which is called the Azoic era. Now, the Azoic era is the era of the earth in which the earth was actually formed before life began. And if we consider the two stages of the earth that Allah refers to in the Quran, this could refer to, first of all, the creation of matter from non-existence or from a point of infinite energy that first came about, and the second stage of the condensation of this matter to form the structure of the earth, the physical earth as we know it. Now, it is also interesting to see that the Quran also refers to four further stages in which Allah provided sustenance, that is, sustenance for life to be on earth. And if we look at science, we find that they also divide these eras into four, interestingly enough. Number one, which is called the Precambrian era, which was about 500 million years ago. Secondly, the Paleozoic era, which is the ancient life era. Thirdly, the Mesozoic era, which is the middle life. And finally, the Caenozoic era, which is the modern life, that is the existence of man, which is about 1 million years ago. Now, if you consider that they only have evidence of what has occurred on this earth for the past 500 million years only, if you take into consideration that the earth has been around for 5 billion years. So they don't have any information as to what occurred for the 4.5 billion years of the earth's existence. But the last 500 million year is the era at which they have evidence of life existing. And these are the four eras as I have discussed. Now, man is relatively very new in this universe, if you think about it. Man has originated in this universe only for the past 1 million years. And if we consider the universe to be around for 15 billion, this is rather very small. Perhaps to give one some indication of this, if we consider the duration of this universe as 1 year, that is 15 billion years as 1 year, then man would only be around for 1 second, which gives you an indication of how recent man has been on this earth. Now, let us see how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed the earth and prepared the earth for man's habitation or for life in general. That is, Allah says He has blessed this earth and provides sustenance in 4 stages. Now, if we look at man coming into being in the Caenozoic or the last era, let us see the difference only from the preceding era, which is the middle life or the Mesozoic era, and see how the earth has changed to accommodate the arrival of man on this earth. Now, initially we find in the Mesozoic era that the earth was very marshy, and here we find that the reptiles dominated, and the earth was unfit for human habitation. Of course, over the period of time, we find a large number of geological changes occurring, and large areas of land surfaced above the water, and the land was drained of the water, and large areas of hard ground became available. Now, when this occurred, we find that the normal swampy vegetation that was present became replaced by flowering plants. And when this occurred, we find that the running type of animals began to predominate. As a result, the giant reptiles, which were not adapted to this form of life, became extinct. And so it went on until we have the forms of life approaching the present life as we have it today. I don't want to go into too much details because, it would be unnecessary information under the circumstances of our program, and I don't want to bog us down with great details. So I'll just be very brief about that. Now we find at the end of the glacial period, the climatic conditions changed, and we find that the climate approaching the conditions as we know it today. We also find that the mountain ranges, which were initially formed from the eruption of volcanoes and from the heaving and splitting of the Earth's crust, and as we come into the Cenozoic era, we find in this era our present mountain ranges as we know it today were formed. And these were formed as a result of the forces operating in the inner structure of the earth itself, which gave rise to this mountain formation. If we look at the Quran again, we find that it gives us numerous references to try and illustrate to us how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made this earth habitable for man and made it so it suits him so beautifully for his life. We are told in Surah 13 verse 3, Allah is the one who has spread out the earth and set therein mountains standing firm and rivers. For every fruit he placed two of a pair. He covers the day with the night. Verily, in this there are signs for people who reflect. So Allah tells us how He has spread the earth out and made it flat for man to live on. Surah 15 verse 19 to 21. The earth we spread it out and set therein mountains standing firm. We caused all kinds of things to grow therein in due balance therein. We have provided you and those you do not supply with means of subsistence, and there is not a thing but its stores are with us. We do not send down save in appointed measure. Again in Surah 20 verse 53 Allah says, Allah is the one who has made for you the earth like a cradle and inserted roads or tracks into it for you. He sent water down from the sky and thereby brought forth pairs of plants, each different from the other. Eat, pasture your cattle. Verily, in this are signs for people endued with intelligence. So Allah describes the earth as a cradle. A cradle is something that offers comfort, that offers a source of ease, and something that is proper for man to live on. It's a beautiful description that we are told. Again, Surah 51, verse 48. Allah says, the earth we have spread out. How excellently we did that. And Allah says, for you Allah made the earth a carpet, so that you travel along its roads and paths of valleys. Now what is this carpet that Allah refers to? The carpet, of course, refers to the earth's crust. Now we must know that we must appreciate how beautifully Allah has made this carpet if we consider that the crust is merely like a peel on an orange. If we consider the structure of the earth, we find that the crust is only between 8 and 40 miles thick. Now below the crust, the earth is very hot and it is hostile to life. Allah has made the crust cool and amenable for human life. Now below the crust, we find the second layer of the earth, which is the mantle. Now the mantle is 1,800 miles deep, and the mantle is hot, solid matter. Now the outer core, which is the next layer, extends for 1,310 miles, and this is actually in a liquid stage. It is in a molten state consisting of the heavy metals such as iron and nickel. And then we get to the innermost core of the earth, which is 850 miles deep. And here we find that the inner core is solid and consists of the heavy metals. Now this is the structure of the earth. And if you consider that the carpet Allah refers to is merely the surface. Now the crust itself is the part of the earth in which we find the continents, we find the oceans and the mountains. And it is this part of earth in which life is actually found. And Allah has made it so beautiful that despite the hot conditions deep to it, the earth is so conducive to human life. Let us take a few of the provisions that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made on earth. If we analyze some of the provisions that Allah has made for life to be possible on earth, one can only reach one conclusion beyond any doubt, and that is that the earth did not arise as it is by chance, but is the work of a master planner whose wisdom, grace, and mercy is evident and manifest everywhere. Let us consider rotation. We discussed last week the importance of rotation, the concept of day and night, and how important it is for rest, the night for rest and the day to seek Allah's sustenance. And we find that even the animals also rest at night. And those animals that work at night rest in the day as well. So we find that this beautifully provides man as a program for him. Secondly, we discuss how rotation is important for life to be possible. If the earth did not rotate, then half the area facing the sun would burn out and life would not be possible. And the other half would be frozen, of course, and also life will not be possible. By the fact that the earth rotating, the area of the earth has been made double. So this shows the importance of rotation. The revolution around the sun and the axis of 23.5 degrees. This, of course, is very important for maintaining the seasons and the variations in climate. Also, we find that it makes possible the alternation of the long winter nights and the long summer days between the northern and the southern hemispheres. If you look at the atmosphere, for example, we explained how important these life-supporting gases are and how important they are for life on this earth. And we indicated, for example, the moon, which has no atmosphere. Of course, life is impossible there. And we showed how important the atmosphere is. The importance of the dry land. It provides a stable platform for terrestrial life. Soil provides a source of minerals for plant life. And the plant life provides a source of food for the animals. And of course, the animals are also a source of food for man, as well as other animals that prey on them. And so it goes on. And we find that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has also been merciful and has placed metals near the surface of the earth, which we use for, and this is actually responsible for the advancement of civilizations. The things like iron, silver, iron, and the industries that dominate from it, gold, and you name it, there's enough. So in Surah 14, verse 34, we are told, "And He giveth you of all that you ask for. But if you count the favors of Allah, never will you be able to number them. Verily, man is given to injustice and ingratitude." Allah says that after providing us with so much, man is still so ungrateful and does not appreciate how much Allah has done for him. Let us look at some of the various parameters and how Allah has made them so perfect. If you look, for example, at the size of the earth has been made a perfect size. Imagine if the earth size was smaller. Say, for example, quarter its present size, which is the size of the moon as we know it. Now, if it was the size of the moon, what would happen? First of all, there would not be enough gravity to hold the water and the atmosphere. So all the water and the atmosphere will go out into space. And of course we know life will not be possible. If the earth was twice its diameter, that is twice its present size, then we find that the gravity will also double and the pressure that will be exerted on everyone will also double. Now what will happen is the atmosphere will be dangerously reduced in level. The winter areas will become much greater and the habitable areas, of course, will decrease, just to name a few of the undesirable side effects that could come about.